Nature in space. What are moon trees? Anything to do with the moon is a forever unfolding mystery, and moon trees are part of this lunar mysticism. Are there really trees on the moon? Not exactly. But tree seeds flowed into space with the NASA astronauts in 1971 and are now growing strong and tall in the Earth's soil. The moon is not a comfortable place to be a life form. Little cotton seeds that sprouted recently on the far side of the moon aboard China's Chang'e 4 lander died shortly after. Water, oxygen, soil, and heat within their biosphere were no match for the moon. They died after experiencing 2 weeks of darkness and temperatures of minus 310 degrees Fahrenheit. But that doesn't mean it's not feasible for plants to grow in other worlds. Welcome to Brainbender Solarium. Join us as we travel through space and explore nature in space. Nine months after the near collapse of Apollo 13, NASA planned to try again with Apollo 14. 3 astronauts, Edgar Mitchell, Alan Shepard, and Stuart A. Roosa, were chosen for the mission. Shepard had gained international recognition for becoming the first American and second largest human in space in 1961. Shepard is famous for soaking in his urine due to delays in the launch and a lack of bathroom facilities on board. Mitchell and Roosa were both experienced pilots and engineers. Years before all of this, in 1953, Roosa took a summer job as a smoke jumper for the U.S. Forest Service. Ed Cliff, Chief of Forest Services, called Roosa and asked if he would take a metal canister packed with 500 seeds on board Apollo 14. The seeds in question consisted of Douglas fir, sequoia, sycamore, sweet gum, and loblolly pine. Stan Krugman, who served for the U.S. Forest Service and was responsible for seed selection, said that he selected redwoods because they were well recognized, and the others because they grew well in many parts of the United States. The seeds were from 2 Forest Service genetics institutes. In most situations, they knew their parents, an essential prerequisite for any post-flight genetic studies. On that note, a control seed group was held back on Earth for comparison. Besides being a great advertisement, the seeds were supposed to be used to research how trees would grow on Earth after being exposed to space travel. Krugman said that scientists decided to find out what would happen to these seeds if they took a moon trip. Would they sprout? Would the trees look normal? They also agreed to give them away as part of the US bicentennial celebration in 1976. Since each astronaut was authorized to bring with them a personal preference package, essentially a small number of personal items, and the seeds were otherwise insignificant, NASA officials gave the idea their blessing, and Roosa agreed to take them along. The seeds orbited the moon 34 times in the Kitty Hawk command module, while Shepard was on the lunar surface taking chip shots with a few of his personal golf balls. On February 9, 1971, Apollo 14 fell into the South Pacific Ocean, with none of the drama of Apollo 13. Sadly, during the decontamination process, the seed-holding metal canister ripped open in the vacuum environment, dispersing all the seeds. Krugman classified the seeds as traumatized, and he suspected that exposure to intense low pressure might have destroyed any possibility of seed germination. After cautious separation and cleanup, they were planted anyway, and almost all of them grew. Over the next few years, the saplings were distributed worldwide. However, most stayed in the United States, especially state capitals, where they were planted in conjunction with the bicentennial celebrations of 1975 and 1976. One was planted in Washington Square in Philadelphia, another at a Girl Scout camp in Indiana, one at Boys Idaho Elementary School. Some went to New Orleans at the mayor of the city's request, who held the nickname Moon. Another was sent to the Siskiyou Smoke Jumpers base in Oregon, where Roosa worked a couple of years before. A moon tree was even planted in front of the White House, and President Gerald Ford named the trees as the living symbols of our spectacular human and scientific achievements. One tree was given to the Emperor of Japan, Hirohito, and others were sent to regions where official requests were made for the trees. The number of groups requesting moon trees was so high that cuttings were taken from the leftover moon trees to make half-moon or second-generation moon trees. After the initial uproar, moon trees were largely forgotten. This was mostly because they were the same as any other tree. In some situations, control trees were grown next to the moon trees with no noticeable variation between them other than the fact that the moon trees are identified by a plaque noting their historical significance. Nobody took the time list of where all the trees were sent and planted. In the mid-1990s, NASA astronomer Dave Williams tried to look for them and put together a database of what he found. He discovered that many were not marked, and as a result, nobody appeared to know what they were. This included a tree planted right outside Williams' office at the Goddard Space Center in Maryland. Williams himself didn't know it was there. As of this video, there are currently 77 trees listed in the database. Williams found some trees that are no longer with us because they have been the victim of hurricanes, Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans, and urban expansion. Several moon trees were bulldozed without anyone realizing their significance. With 500 original seeds, not counting the cuttings taken from them, and only 77 identified trees, there are undoubtedly still hundreds of moon trees out there, along with many half-moon trees. One of these second-generation moon trees was planted in 2005 at the Arlington National Cemetery near Roos's grave. Nearby is a plaque that reads, "In remembrance of Apollo astronaut Stuart A. Roosa and the other famous astronauts who have left their presence here on Earth." It is important to note that there are only 12 people alive today that have been to the moon, with only 4 having walked on it. All of these individuals are over the age of 82. If we don't go back soon, the moon trees will be the only living things left that have made the trip, even if they were only orbiting. Roos's son, Jack, records that these trees will be here 100 years from now. By then, he believes we'll be planting Mars trees right beside them. Here's hoping. Thanks for joining us. We hope you found this video interesting. If so, take a look at some of our other videos you see on the screen now. Also, ring that bell to keep up with new content that we publish weekly. We'll see you next time, here on Solarium.